I don't even know where to start. Hello everyone, this is me. I have something that I need to talk about, and you'll have to forgive me if it sounds like I'm a little lost here. It's because I am. I'm absolutely beside myself right now. Just received word this morning, about 2:30 or so. SlightlyAmiss Anthony Lee decided to end his life. And the information that I have about this is sketchy at best. I received the word from Lacey, his ex, and seeing as how I am the one connection that she has to his online friends, I got the unfortunate task of having to notify everyone. I mean, she notified everybody on Facebook and tagged me to make sure that I knew, and I went ahead and I got to tell everybody, and it's just, it hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. It really did. And as much as I want to say that I was expecting it, but in spite of it softening the blow, it really hit me hard, really. So I'm going to try and keep my shit together long enough to do this video, just for the sake of everybody who watched and who appreciated his stuff and all that stuff, and because I think that having spoken to Quadraxis 14 about it and just completely breaking his heart when it came to that, I feel like everybody should know what I know, because I think that not coming forward with it now would be doing the guy a severe injustice. Does that make any sense? It's like, people need to know, they need to understand. And as much as I can possibly relate it, that's what I'm going to try and do here. I'm just so fucking shaken by it that it's just, I had to leave work. I just couldn't even be at work today. I had to go home. I just couldn't handle it. I mean, it takes a lot to shake me, and this did. So let's start from the beginning. I first met SlightlyAmiss, Tony, whatever you want to call him. I first met him, never met him personally, but I met him when I first joined County Line Gaming. At the time the group was Hoodie Mage, Quadraxis 14, Jason's Groove Machine, New York Defender Talon. SlightlyAmiss made number 5, and I made number 6. I was the 6th member. I joined a few weeks after he did. And he and I kind of hit it off, and we started being friends. We started talking to each other a lot. We really started talking to each other a lot right around the time we launched the website, which in retrospect probably wasn't the greatest idea in the world to launch a website because of all the crap it brought down on our heads, but that's another story for another time. Ultimately, it was Amiss's hard work that got the site up and running, and it was me, helping him out in the financial department, I guess, giving him the monetary stuff, because we were taking donations at the time. I gave him a lot of monetary stuff to buy a forum license so we could get the forums up and running and a bunch of other stuff. And everything was just great between the two of us. I mean, when he was forced out of the group in 2010, or was it 2000? Yeah, it was 2010. I had his back. I wanted to kick his ass so fucking hard for the clusterfuck, the way that things were handled back then. I spoke about this in Grooveless, and the way that things were handled and the way that the group fractured like it did. I wanted to kill everybody. I wanted to beat the fuck out of everybody for that. You know, and it was just something that shouldn't have happened the way it did, and it was, if there was anybody I was going to side with, it was going to be Amiss, but he really did, you know, he really made things worse by insisting that it be handled publicly instead of making it a private matter like it should have been. So he left. Not too long after that, the group, you know, completely fractured, and you know, it was Hoodie and Galif and D2 and myself on one side, and it was Jason and Thera and Dragon Impersation on the other. They went off to make Low Bias Gaming. The rest of us stayed behind, and when they all left, I kind of panicked and asked Amiss to rejoin, and he's been with the group ever since. Everything was just dandy with him. I mean, I can't remember ever having a crossword with him at all until right around the time that he got involved with this girl, Nicole. There's so much that you guys don't know, and so much that I simply don't know, but I will go over what I do know, and you can take it for what it is. Just, you know, the mindless ramblings of someone who's just in such shock right now. He's barely thinking straight. So we'll just see what we can do here and try and sort it all out for myself. Because there's a lot that Quaddy doesn't know. There's a lot that, you know, the people on the forums don't know. You know, because it seemed like, you know, Miss was completely losing his shit, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. When it comes right down to it, all this seemed to start right around the time he hooked up with this girl named Nicole. And he got some pictures from her. She sent him some pictures of herself. This is what I look like, blah, blah, blah. And he hooked up with her. That's why he's not with Lacey anymore. Here I am still speaking about him in present tense. That's why he was not with Lacey. And the two of them, you know, split up. They'd been together for like 4 years, for as long as I'd known them. So then he broke up with her so he could be with Nicole. And for some strange reason, he was expecting, it seemed like he was expecting more out of this relationship that he was in than what he was getting out of it, and he seemed to really take that hard. I mean, so hard. And it got to the point where he was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing. I'm not really sure how far I should get into this, but suffice to say that it wasn't a healthy relationship for either one of them. So he ended up getting himself arrested. I'm not really sure about the details, but as I understand it, he got himself arrested because her friends had him arrested for holding her against her will or something. His defense was that she told him to take her with him to work because she didn't want to be alone in his house or something. Looking back on that now, that doesn't exactly hold a whole hell of a lot of water, but you know, I honestly don't know. I wasn't there. But he had to post $1,000 bond. He spent, I think he spent like a day or two in jail for it. And because the police came to his place of employment to arrest him, he lost his job. He had a few months of savings, and that was good because he had a really hard time finding work after that. He found a job September or October, and then I ended up losing it again, but again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, what had gone down was Nicole filed a protection order against him, and she took off from Minnesota to Chicago. He followed her there, saying he wanted to marry her or something. And that's when he made the threat to us in June that if he couldn't be with her, that he was going to kill himself. That was in June. Okay? You guys are just now hearing about this because it's really not my place to talk about something personal like that. The only reason why I'm doing it now is because it doesn't fucking matter anymore. But Galluff and Recce and D2 were there, and they heard they heard of this, and they actually got the threat from him personally. And D2 actually made the call to the police in Bloomington, Minnesota from Las Vegas, saying, hey, I have this friend who lives up that way, and he's made this threat, you guys need to do something about that. They found him, and they took him to a psych ward, where he was placed on suicide watch and basically spent the next 50 hours there. And he came out, he was released, and when he talked to me the day he was released, it was the most eerie thing because he acted like it had never happened. And ever since then, it seems to me like he felt that we had crossed some line, that we had, stepped over some boundary by intervening on his behalf in such a manner. It was. I don't want to say that he was ungrateful, because I don't think that he was. But it seemed like he resented the fact that we had gotten involved, particularly since Recce had spoken to Nicole about him. And for whatever reason, he didn't seem to like that very much, because I think back then, even then, he realized that he was having a lot of problems with Nicole, and the cause of all his problems was Nicole, but for some strange reason, he just could not stay away from her. He just couldn't. And every single time, he'd, finagle his way back into her life. Every single time, they'd start the same thing up again, doing the things they were doing with each other. And what ended up happening was he was actually arrested a second time because he'd gotten a job, but he'd gotten arrested a second time for violating the protection order she filed against him, number one, and got charged with assault and illegal sexual conduct or whatever the hell. I mean, these are felony charges, folks. He was facing felony charges for doing this shit. And he just went downhill so fast after that. I mean, up until maybe September or October, he didn't really seem to have very many issues with the way his life was going, aside from the fact that he didn't really have a job. But over those last few months, it just seemed like he was always talking about things like choking himself into unconsciousness and and cutting himself. For a while there, his profile pic on Facebook and his profile pic on Twitter were him all cut up and in tears, because he wanted to show the world what he was really like and how he really was and whatnot. And you know, it was just, people took issue with it, and he just seemed to think that it was the way things had to be. You know, he didn't want to have, you know, people giving him shit about it, I guess. But you know, it was when he really started, you know, being a dick, you know. And he, you know, right around the time that I first talked to him when he got out of there, he actually accused me of being a racist. Because I did this video for YouTube a number of years ago, and in the thing there was a ROM hack that I was playing, and it was called nigger tennis. I don't like using that word, but that's what it was called. And I got accused of being a racist for just saying the word, right? So eventually, the conversation ended up talking about that, and he asked me if I was a racist or if I was a white supremacist or whatever, and I said no. And then he said, "Are you lying?" And I was really, really fucking insulted, because I had never given him reason to think that, you know. And from there, that's when things pretty much started going downhill between him and me. I mean, Amish had my back for a lot of things. I mean, when my friendship with Erin disappeared, and I mean, because Erin meant the world to me. I mean, she was such a dear, dear friend, you know, and losing her friendship was hard. And Amish hated her. Hated Erin for what she did, for how she treated me. He just hated her for it. I mean, pretty much all my friends, you know, kind of turned on her there a little. But he you know, he really came to my defense, and he took it the hardest, I think. I mean, I never really understood why he just didn't stop talking to her, because it just wasn't doing anybody any good. But he seemed to think that he was, you know, just fighting the good fight for me, I guess. And then all of a sudden, you know, my friendship with him started going downhill as well. And toward the end there, those last few months, it just seemed like he was going out of his way to be as obnoxious as possible. I mean, to the point where it wasn't even funny. I mean, he was just being a dick for the sake of being a dick. Now, that said, a lot of it we can understand, given the situation that he was in, his life being turned upside down like that, but really that's his own fault more than anything else. Because he knew what he had to do. He knew he had to stay away from her, you know, and try to get his shit together, but instead of doing that, you know, he insisted on, you know, wanting this perfect life, or rather, probably more appropriately, he wanted this ideal life, you know, a family, a wife, and kids, and maybe a white picket fence and a dog, you know, and a bunch of other shit. And it just seems like he was trying so hard, you know, and because he couldn't have it with this one person, he just didn't want it. He just didn't want it at all. He just didn't want to bother. You know, and he and I really kind of pulled apart at the end there. You know, and that's the toughest thing, because recently he betrayed my trust. And if there's one thing that I hate more than anything when it comes to people who I consider to be friends, it's when they show me disrespect. I hate that. Nothing in this world will make you my enemy faster. And when I talk to somebody, and I'm having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, as a general rule, what they tell me is held in the strictest of confidence. Mostly out of respect for the person that I'm talking to, but also because I don't really believe it's my place to discuss someone else's issues with a third party. You know what I mean? And that said, I expect the same courtesy in return. And I told him a rather embarrassing secret. He then betrayed that trust, posted it on the internet, and in the process insulted me. And I hated him for it. I was so pissed off at him. I put him on my restricted list on Facebook. I deleted him as a contact on Skype. I stopped following him on Twitter. I removed him as a contact on my phone. You know? I mean, I didn't block him anywhere. I just didn't want to have anything to do with him. And if I had just known how close it was to the end, I don't think it would have made any difference. You know, does that make me sound like an asshole? I don't give a fuck. It is what it is. You know, I didn't have any reason to think that it was going to end the way that it ended, because I kind of figured, you know, that he was just saying the things he was saying for attention. And then I still don't know what happened. I have a query into Lacey about it, and when she knows, I'll know, and then I get the task of informing everybody and letting everybody know what happened. But I snapped awake, and I mean snapped awake, like fully conscious, at around 2:30 this morning. Without even thinking about it, I was on Facebook. And that's when I noticed that I had been tagged in Lacey's post, and there it was, staring me right in the face. And I just felt numb. I mean, just fucking numb. Like, how could this have happened? You know? And what a fucking way to wake up. You know? It was the worst. I can't even describe it to you. He's become number 15. Something that most people don't know about me. Not even Aaron. I never even told Aaron this. Is that I keep a list of names of people that I've known personally who've died over the years. I keep it in my wallet. I'm not even 35 years old yet. And there are 15 names now on this list. 15. And I have family members on here. I have friends, co-workers, people I went to school with, you know. And they had all different types of causes of death: cancer, automobile accidents, heart conditions, things of that nature. But I never lost one to suicide. Until now. So, yeah, that's the rambling diatribe. It is what it is. I just wish there was something else I could say about it. There really isn't, though, is there? Rest in peace, brother. I love you, man.